A draw knife is, of course, an excellent tool for shaping axe size. So I have a hatchet eye traced out on this little ash blank. So that's something of the shape of a handle I would make. What I want to try to explain here, though, is that, and this is a great instance, you don't need absolutely perfect grain for every handle. You know, the straighter the better, but up here there's several degrees of runoff. Let's show. With ash you can usually see the grains pretty clearly, but in case that's not shown up on camera too well, the grain in the region of the head is running off out of true to the axis of the handle, about like that pencil is there. When that's the case, you have a fair chance of getting a significant tear out. And I've seen this mistake many times with people. I'm teaching people how to make or how to make their own axe handles and so forth, and even some experienced axe users on YouTube and Instagram will get a big tear out that has the potential to actually tear down into the handle itself and actually ruin the piece of stock. And basically, if you just make a practice of visually reading the grain carefully from all sides on the blank, you can significantly reduce or eliminate the chances that will happen. And I chose this piece of stock because it has that. I don't know if it's exactly going to behave that way, but I'll try to make it have that similar tear out that I see sometimes. So this particular tear out is most likely to happen when you work aggressively, and it's only going to happen on one side. That's why I wrote the word tear here. Just by eyeballing this, I can tell this side of the blank, when I start draw knifing up here, is going to be much more prone to that kind of dangerous to the workpiece, that is, tearing. And this side should cut perfectly clean no matter how aggressively I work it. So let me do a few aggressive cuts on the side that I think will cut nice and clean. This will also showcase, of course, how, there we go, yeah. Pretty tough ash, that's good. How fast the draw knife will take material down. That's cut nice and clean. It's like, feels glassy smooth. Now, if I try to take a similar aggressive cuts, oh man, look at that. I just stopped the knife basically dead. Now, if I had the muscle, as I did when I was younger, to finish that cut, let's see what would happen. And maybe I just crank this and try to create a split. There we go. Oh, that's nice. That's perfect. So we see how it started as a cut. And let's see how the light hits this. But somewhere around here, it transitioned from a cut to a split. And yeah, if I had the horsepower I did when I was in my 20s, and maybe early 30s, that split might have run even deeper and come down into what I want to keep. So that's right at the edge there of the danger zone. So now I'm going to try to explain why that happened. There's a rule of thumb in woodworking, and it's a generality. It's not true in every case. In fact, it's not true in a lot of situations. That when you look at these grain patterns, the visual patterns of the grain, they're real easy to see in a wood like ash. See how they make these kind of arch shapes? It's called cathedral patterning, or some people just call them arrows. It's generally true that if you cut in the direction that those arrows point, you'll get clean cuts. And if you try to cut opposite those, you'll get tears. And that's in fact what we did have here. So here's the big gnarly tear I got. I was trying to go against those cathedrals, and sure enough. But there's a confounding factor with that, using that rule of thumb, and it is whether your grain on the end, as viewed from the end grain, whether it's smiling or frowning, basically. So whether the growth rings are like this or like this will affect this visual pattern here. So you can't rely on that in every case. It's much better to simply observe what's going on this is the back and the front of the blank. And especially with the wood like ash, where it's so obvious the grain direction, you can figure out where you have end grain exposures. So with the grain running off like this, you're going to have both sides of this board are, the entire thing is a partial end grain exposure. And so you have to figure out, make the blade exit that end grain exposure, not enter the end grain exposure. Here's why. This is the simple physics of it. So let's imagine we've made a nice clean cut with the draw knife. Shears that off nice and clean. Now we're going to magnify that, use your imagination, and let's figure that we've zoomed in with 1,000-fold magnification. So this is 1,000x magnification here, because even the cleanest cut looks very rough and splintery when you zoom in far enough, right? So again, we're cutting like this. And as long as we keep cutting this direction, and notice that this is an end grain exposure, right? That we're talking about. As long as you are exiting that end grain exposure with the blade, you're fine. And you may also think of it, and I will often describe it like this to students: enter the side grain, exit the end grain. If you try to enter the end grain, flip the draw knife around. So there's our same end grain exposure, partial end grain exposure. If you try to go in this way, those fibers don't see a blade anymore. They see a wedge. And that blade is going to insert itself in between the fibers. And as you try to go, it just starts splitting them apart. So they split and tear apart from each other instead of shearing off nice and clean. And so by understanding where your end grain exposures are, even if they're very slight, you'll understand what direction the blade has to travel to cut clean. And with a little practice, it'll become obvious, and you'll be like, duh, oh, I can't go this direction on this side of the board. Or you can, but so even though that tore really bad, we bring the camera back over here, and I'll show you how you deal with this. You don't come way back here and try to take a big bite like you can on the clean cutting side. You got to start way back, close to the end of the board, take little nibbles, and then just slowly work your way forward. And the reason this works is because I'm basically working in a small zone. I'm creating an end grain exit for myself so that when I go farther forward, if a tear does start, it just terminates where I've already created an end grain exposure. And as long as I don't try to go too far forward with any given bite, I just slowly work my way forward, I don't have the risk of one of those big gnarly tears happening. But again, if I try to come back too far, immediately that just started to tear. And that tear is going to try to run right basically along the lines we see of the grain. So there's a big tear started there. How do I deal with that? Well, start right toward the end of the board, nibble my way forward slowly until I get to that. Until I get to the tear I just created. And because I've created that slight end grain exposure here, the tear just goes away. Go back to the other side that's just going to cut clean no matter what. I can go back as far back as I have the muscle to pull through the wood on. If you happen to get a piece of stock that basically has dead true grain or very close to it, then you can pretty much work both sides aggressively with very little risk of that kind of tearing. But that's just something to watch out for, and it'll make you a better woodworker in general too, not just for axe handles. Learning to read the grain, make a careful study of the piece of stock before you just start going at it with the tools. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that will spare somebody out there from having an accident that ruins your handle, and maybe make you a little bit better woodworker in general. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Tune in next time. I'll have further tidbits like this coming along.